Hey, this is the HONEYPAC podcast sponsored by Brown Editing, and we're gonna switch it up this week. This time with podcast number 9, and we're gonna just get right into talking. So, welcome back to the HONEYPAC podcast sponsored by Brown Editing. I finally got a fucking plan for this podcast. It just feels like I finally stopped spiraling and losing my fucking mind enough to basically just come on here, record, and talk to y'all. And for the next 1 or 2 podcasts, we're gonna have our first guest. So it's about time that I stop being pussy and just show y'all who I am. And I've already spent the first 10 episodes talking about what I believe and my political practice and that kind of thing, and how I've been complaining about how I didn't learn dick in law school. And honestly, I feel like the podcast was getting a little bit impersonal because y'all weren't seeing me, you were just hearing me talk. So without further ado, let's get into it. So today I thought that we should talk a little bit about the recent current events that have occurred, meaning the UHC CEO, the CEO of United Healthcare Services, or whatever the fuck they're called. The CEO got gunned down in the middle, broad daylight in New York City. And I feel like the overwhelming perspective of law professionals, legal professionals, people in the legal profession is like, oh my goodness, this is so sad. And I think that really gets at the root of a lot of things that people don't really want to talk about, which is people inherently, especially in the legal profession, they do not have a sense of responsibility for other people. People think that, oh, I just represent these people, this is just part of my job. Killing millions of people by denying their health care claims, that's not really a problem. And I can represent these evil people in court and represent their arguments, but that doesn't represent me as a person. I'm just a person who is providing representation, and everyone deserves representation. Fuck that. Fuck that. Fuck that entire mindset. Fuck that entire idea. Because it only allows evil to get away without people really reconciling with the realities of how this world operates in a racial capitalist context. People just want to absolve themselves of any personal responsibility that they have in the systems that perpetrate and foster abuse against marginalized populations. And so people just really need to stop with this whole, oh, it doesn't affect me, oh, I'm not, this is not really that important, we shouldn't be advocating for murder. Fuck that. Get some fucking class consciousness, read some fucking Gramsci, understand, don't even fucking read Gramsci. Go work a retail job. Go work a retail job for 2 or 3 years and tell me that you don't come out a fucking, member of the proletariat ready to burn shit down. Honestly, truly, I really want you to think about this. I really want you to think about the role that you play in society after you've been sitting and standing in a Home Depot warehouse for 8 hours straight on your feet with 15-minute breaks and a 30-minute break. So you get the equivalent of literally an hour break throughout your 8-hour shift, standing on them hard-ass, cold-ass fucking floors, getting flirted with by the ugliest motherfuckers known to man. And, tell me after that experience that you don't come out a different person with different practices. Because I'm tired of this shit. It's so many lawyers and so many people in the legal profession are so fucking out of touch with the realities of everyday life and how people actually have to give their bodies in exchange for capital in this country. There is a serious problem. People are fucking dying. People have been dying for forever, as a result of these policies, racial capitalism, systemic racism. This is not some new shit. you know, it's always been equal. Sorry, there's some people outside acting wild. I don't know what they're doing. Yeah, he tweaking. I don't know what that's about. It's cold outside. I ain't going outside. I ain't dealing with nobody today. I know that might be antithetical to my claims of community or whatever, but honestly, I ain't got it in me today. I've been sleeping today. I ain't got it in me. That's an aside. My point of this shit, the point of me getting on here to speak to y'all, to anybody, is that y'all need to understand that there are consequences for your actions. You can say all the fucking shit you want about, oh, this guy didn't need to die. That was harsh. You know, yes, but I need y'all to understand that him killing people by the swipe of his pen, that's also violent. Him killing people by denying their claims and, you know, increasing shareholder value, that's also violent. I need people to understand that this is not a one-way, oh, vigilante justice is wrong categorically. Understand, open up your mind, understand what causes vigilante justice. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. It doesn't happen for no fucking reason. The courts have not been reconciling and addressing a lot of the problems that average, everyday, the working masses have with the upper echelon of people. Like not even upper echelon, the fucking, what is it called in Marxist terms? But like, not even Marxist terms, just fucking the owning class, the people who subjugate the rest of us and basically decide whether we live or die. The courts are not sympathetic to them because they're owned by, or, you know, funded by a lot of the people who own these corporations. Like, it's all connected. Like, a struggle against corporate power, it transcends racial lines. It transcends any kind of idea of, oh, violence is wrong. Because I don't think that people really understand that, like, these policy decisions, that these, oh, there's a better way to do it. Oh, well, you shouldn't take up arms against your oppressor. Fuck all that shit. Are you dead ass right now? Are you dead ass right now? Am I supposed to believe that the UHC CEO wouldn't laugh at my claims? Like, am I supposed to believe that he actually gives a shit about people? Like, with a 30% denial rate? Am I seriously supposed to believe that shit? Are you fucking joking? And like all these bootlickers on fucking Threads and Instagram and shit. What is that? What is that? Like, I need people to really take a serious look at themselves and understand that, like, oppression is real and people are dying, and this is a dire place to live in the American timeline. Like, wealth inequality is ridiculous. Like, people, you know, 100 people in this country have more wealth than like fucking 30 million people. Like, does that not upset you? Does there not need to be like a radical redistribution of wealth in this country? Like, let's seriously sit with ourselves and think about this shit. Like, this is some serious shit that we're talking about. Like, and I don't have all the answers. I don't claim to, you know, have a outline or anything like that. But that's the fallacy of all of this shit in the first place. These motherfuckers don't know what they're doing either. People who are running the Congress don't know what they're doing. Matt Gaetz was about to be fucking attorney general, and that motherfucker was sex trafficking kids. Like, why do we act like everything in order to build a better future has to be perfectly outlined? We have to have all the cogs in a machine in order and, you know exactly how everything's gonna turn out in the future. No, all that shit's not necessary. That's just a distractor to get us away from criticizing the actual fact of the matter, which is that too few niggas got too much money. And that shit needs to change, because this is not a meritocracy. We don't live in a society where if you work really hard, you're gonna get a certain result. We don't live in that type of society, and we haven't for a very long time now. The second that people showed up on the shores of Africa, the shores of the African continent, saying we're gonna take y'all and make y'all do our work for no money, the second that shit happened, what the fuck is a meritocracy? You're not even paying the people who you have and do your work. And I'm supposed to believe that this is like, there are so many sins that America has committed against its people, and the genocide of the Native American, like of First Nations people, like that's okay. Like, what the fuck? Like, there are some serious sins that need to be atoned for, and if we keep just running away and just keep trying not to talk about them, keep, you know, oh, violence is wrong, violence is wrong. How the fuck you think we got here in the first place? You really think that, you know, the ethnic cleansing of First Nation peoples wasn't violent? You think that slavery wasn't violent? You think that how these people got their wealth wasn't violent? You know, this isn't just a me thing. There are legacies. Hundreds of scholars, hundreds of lawyers, hundreds of people all across the world who understand that the only way that this is really going to change is continued violence. Because that's the only way that it's changed in the past. Look at the Haitian Revolution. Look at the French Revolution. Look at any revolution. How does revolution happen? It doesn't happen because everyone was happy. Why are people cheering on the CEO's death? Because people are fucked up in this country. People are not in a place where they can actually live and get access to their basic needs. Like, people can't afford basic shit. People cannot afford healthcare. We don't have a universal healthcare in this country. People can't afford food. Like, fucking eggs are $6. Like, people cannot afford shit in this country. And to continue acting like this is just gonna be like, this is a temporary thing, like, I don't know what kind of delusion you would have to believe that, but like, some things are seriously gonna have to change. And the solution to CEOs being murdered isn't, oh, let's get more security for the CEOs. It's fucking do better. Like, and I'm sorry, maybe my working class anger is coming out a little bit in this podcast. Like, normally I don't like to get angry because, you know, then I'm the angry black woman or whatever, you know. But honestly, fuck all that shit. I had to get this off my chest because institutions have been okay with killing people for far too long. It's not right. And some things are gonna have to change if you really want to build and create a community and a society where we actually give a shit about one another. Because it's very clear that there's one group of the population that does not give a fuck about us. The actual everyday working people who, you know, had I gotten kicked out of law school when I got suspended or whatever, I would have had to go back and work one of those service jobs where I'm standing on my feet 8 hours every day. And, you know, I end up with plantar fasciitis, and eventually, you know, I can't afford the treatment, like the injections of the steroids, because I don't have health insurance, because my employer doesn't value me. And, you know, those types of jobs don't actually have benefits, or decent benefits where I would be able to afford the type of medical care that I would need in order to do one of those jobs. Like, you can miss me with all that, oh, you have no empathy bullshit. Like, fuck you. You haven't lost enough. If you have not lost enough from your employer, you have not lost enough from people who were meant to protect you, you have not lost enough from entering into a social contract with people who were supposed to protect you and supposed to give you benefits and supposed to actually give a shit about you, and they didn't. That's the only rational conclusion that I can come to with people who are still in the mindset that violence is wrong. You just haven't lost enough. And when you do lose enough, then you'll understand why people are violent, why people do this, why people do that. It's not all, oh, they're just mentally ill, they're crazy. No, there's a reason why people engage in this type of violence. And if you don't understand the reason, be grateful. Be grateful that you never lost shit like that, because I tell you, I try to do things the right way. I try to go to court. I try to litigate. I try to do these types of things for the right reasons. That doesn't mean that what other people choose to do is necessarily wrong because of what they've lost. I'm very, very privileged to be able to have a mother and a father who have picked me up and foot the bill when I didn't have it altogether, when I got suspended and shit, and I needed resources. That's one of the huge reasons I didn't make a GoFundMe, because I don't feel comfortable taking resources from people who really need it. And I wasn't in that place. I wasn't in a worse enough space where I felt like I needed to do that. And I have a business where, you know, people really support me, and I'm able to help people in exchange for a reasonable price. You know, I'm able to help them get into the law school or the graduate school of their dreams. I am blessed with the gift that I'm able to do that. But some people don't. And you have to understand that their violence and their violence towards institutions is merited. And it makes sense. People always want to try to justify these acts of violence. Why don't you try to justify their pain? Like, why was this person going through what they were going through to feel like they needed to take up arms against the CEO or any other institution? What were they doing to them? We always like to victim blame and shift the perspective and be like, well, what did you do? Why don't we sit back and take a second to step back and just say, I don't know. People don't act crazy for no reason. People act crazy when they're pushed into a corner, when they're repeatedly stolen from, when they're repeatedly harmed. And that's some real shit that people really need to get through their thick ass head. And that's my gripe with the legal profession. Y'all so damn insulated from the real life society and the real life struggles of real life people. You have these postulates about what people should do and what people shouldn't do and whatever the fuck. I hope you never experience the level of destitution and probably just marginalization that this guy had. Because he was probably wronged. And people are not seeing the humanity in that guy. What was stolen for him to do these types of things? I really want us to sit intentionally with what occurred. Because over 600,000 people every year declare medical bankruptcy. There are people who are denied access to life-saving medication and healthcare because of people needing to create value for shareholders. I really want us to sit as a society and look at ourselves and say, is this a society I want to be in? Is this a society I really want to contribute to? Is this something that I can really defend with my tooth and nail, and I would be willing to put my life on the line to harm someone else in order for them down the street to make some money? So that they can have 5 super yachts, so that they can have 20 houses all across the world, and disenfranchise local populations in other countries. That's what I want to put my life on the line to do. I need people to look at themselves in the mirror and really understand that that's what they're doing when they defend these institutions that harm people. No, I think that's really all I got for today. Damn, I've been ranting for like 20 minutes. But I think it needed to be said, and I think that people really need to understand that violence doesn't happen in a vacuum. To quote Malcolm X, freedom is never safeguarded peacefully. People really need to just come to terms with the fact that shit is fucked up in this country, and it needs to get better. And shit's gonna just keep getting worse if the inequality keeps getting worse. And people need to come up with real life policy solutions and real life sustainable solutions to our enduring problems in this, 21st century world where people can't afford healthcare, people don't have access to clean water, people don't have access to some basic, fundamental, elementary shit, and we got motherfuckers buying 20 super yachts. That's a fucking real ass thing. I'm getting heated again. I'm sorry. This is some real shit that we really need to atone. Like, we really need to, as a society, come together and realize, is this going to be okay? Are we going to be okay with this? Because I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think that, having a policy degree and a law degree, I personally do not think that this can continue. Like, there is going to be societal collapse if people just continue to wash their hands and be like, oh, it's just a job. It's just a job. I don't even care. I got to make my money. Oh, well, I get mine. Fuck everybody else. That shit gonna get you killed. And when it happens, I can't say that the internet is gonna react differently than they did to the CEO's death. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on that. Please tune into another episode of the HONEYPAC podcast. We got some guests coming on next week. And yeah, I'm just super excited to produce shit for you, for my audience, for my viewers, going forward. And yeah, just know I'm rooting for y'all. I'm rooting for the people always. I'm always rooting for the people, and stay black, don't let anybody fuck with you. That's what my favorite podcaster Joey Diaz always says. So yeah, just know, try to be the person that helps people instead of fucks people. That's what my mom always says. Try to be someone who helps others and doesn't just care about money, because life is deeper than that. And we need one another. We really do need one another. All right, so y'all have a great rest of your weekend. Peace.